The Seattle Kraken, they get their first regulation loss in the first game of a back-to-back. Is that foreboding of what's to come tonight in Washington, or can they turn things around? We'll talk about that on today's episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Seattle hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you your favorite team, the Seattle Kraken, every single day. Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken. I am also a contributor to CBS Sports, mostly where I talk hoops, basketball, a little bit of hockey here and there. I'm also an accredited media member for Milano Cortina. And I kind of got into this a little bit yesterday, but oh man, I'm a little nervous about the conditions, the ice conditions for the Olympics. Not something that you want to say as we get closer to the games. We'll reach 100 days coming next week, and I'll talk more about where I will be next week. But I want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right. Lots to talk about here. If you've been following Locked On Kraken on social media, then you know a contributor that we've recently added, Ava Wood, was able to check out PWHL Seattle and their jersey reveal. We're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow and certainly on the Women's Hockey Report. But also later today, Jordan Dabney is going to be taking over social media. I'll be here in headquarters in Tulsa supporting her coverage of this game in Washington as the Seattle Kraken look to get back into the win column. But on this episode, we're going to talk about Berkly Catton. What did we make of his debut? What went wrong against Philadelphia, another lunch pail team? We got out lunch pailed. And then what do we need to know about the Washington Capitals? And looking even ahead to the Winnipeg Jets, not an easy stretch to finish out this road series that we have here, but the Seattle Kraken are going to have to figure it out. So let's first talk about Berkly Catton's debut. He was able to get a secondary assist on the first goal of the game for the Seattle Kraken, the first goal of the game, period. So we loved to see that. We also heard from Lane Lambert that he thought that Berkly Catton did pretty well in the faceoff dot, playing on the wing, of course, with Eberle and Maddie Beniers. And he, again, assisted on that goal to Eberle, found it along the wall, got it over to Cale Fleury, and then it was Jordan Eberle who scored the first goal. But I think some of the things that we were concerned about, I don't know that, there were big issues. We did hear from Catton, and I'll play some of the clips from him, that he did have his welcome to the league moment. When you look at time on ice, it was Catton was at 13:49. But as I mentioned yesterday, we talked about this on the live stream yesterday, didn't think that he was going to keep pace with what we saw from Beniers and Eberle. I think also you have to think about who's playing on special teams, etc. There were a lot of penalties early in this game that get a cadence and a pace early in this game, but the Seattle Kraken ultimately lose this game 5-2 to the Flyers. They gave up 2 goals in the first, another 3 in the second. Neither team was able to score in the third and final frame. For me, I think what stood out is that there were some great opportunities, breakaway opportunities, which is something that I talked about on yesterday's episode. There were breakaway opportunities that the Kraken just couldn't capitalize on. The first one was Ty Cartier, and then I think a couple of seconds later, I think the second one was Chandler Stevenson on the penalty kill. But the penalty kill, special teams is something that, again, I talked about yesterday. We were going to want to see who could win the special teams battle. And if we look at this, the Seattle Kraken were 1 of 6 on the power play. I told you yesterday that this was a bad power play for the Flyers, and they went 2 of 4. So they had a 50% clip. We were at 16.7, just 1 of 6. The the penalty kill, as you can tell, was pretty good for the Flyers, and we were at 50% on the PK for the Seattle Kraken. Those 2 shorthanded opportunities on breakaways, we had, I think it was maybe 7 seconds. It might have been less, anywhere from 5 to 7 seconds, I think, to kill off that penalty, and we gave up a goal. That was Owen Tippett's goal, I believe, or excuse me, Forster's goal, because they were on the power play. But things like that you don't really want to see. I think that the Seattle Kraken, they just didn't play a great game. They didn't do the things that we know they have to do to win games, and that's gonna be a problem if they do that more often than not. We will hear a little bit from Lambert, but just to summarize some of the things that he said, he just felt like this was a team, a Seattle Kraken team that, didn't really have their legs, didn't really show up. And that's not what this team can't afford to do that. And Lambert has made that very clear, that this team can't afford to really give anything less than their best. They have to be in close games. They have to have a lot of fight. And he made it clear post-game that it's not an excuse as to who they're missing and things of that nature. He's not making that excuse. He's not entertaining that. And I like that he's not doing that. You have to show up. Period, point blank. And the Seattle Kraken really didn't. But, I'm kind of really going over the recap now. I'll get into that a little bit more, but let's hear from Berkly Catton after his debut, which, that was one of the highlights for sure of this game.
Well, Berkly, you talked before the game about, just going out there and playing the kind of hockey that you can play. How do you feel you did in that regard?
Yeah, I think I had my moments for sure. I think we had a good first there. Then I don't know, a little fell off a little bit there, but it's fast, it's heavy, so learned a lot that game, and just gonna continue to try and build.
What was it like just trying to get yourself calm, and what was the whole experience like just from getting out to that lap?
Yeah, it's a lot for sure. It's kind of nice, honestly, just to get that, even the lap out of the way, and just everyone kind of forgets about it now and just go play. So, it was a really exciting night, and, happy my family was here, got to share with them, so really special night.
And then you get the secondary assist on the first goal. I mean, did it register with you right away that you had a point? Did you figure that out?
Yeah, I don't know. That was... that's I think my first touch of the game was an assist, so that was pretty cool. But I think it did end up going off Ebbs, right? So secondary assist in the second shift's pretty cool.
And so as the game went along, I mean, what were you feeling out there as far as just the cohesion and the ability to make plays? What did it look like the game kind of slowed down for you?
I think they're a really good defensive team too, and there wasn't a whole lot the whole game, but maybe the odd chance here and there, and obviously playing with Maddie and Ebbs, it was they create lots, and I just kind of have to get to the right spot sometimes, and they make the play. So really special, and cool night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So that's Berkly Catton after the loss, 5-2 loss. I want to go over to, I love game score. I love looking at these stats, and you can see that Catton is up there, right? But so is his line with regard to how they were able to impact this game. Josh Mahura down there at the bottom, our OT hero from the other day. I want to start seeing more from Shane Wright, Winterton, Mason Marchment in particular. So not great on the game score for this night, but Yanni Newman, who also scored, Ryan Lindgren, once again mixing it up, getting some of that sandpaper that I love to talk about. This was a game that the Seattle Kraken just, again, they didn't really show up here. And they have an opportunity to turn it around. We know that the Kraken were on their first of 14 back-to-backs, but usually we see them kind of bomb out in game 2. In this one, it was game one. But, let's go to another Saskatchewan native. And I want you to hear from Jaden Schwartz after this game about just what needed to improve, where the team needs to go from here.
Pretty well for you guys, but what happened after that initial 10 minutes and stuff? It looked like the play wasn't as cohesive as it had been earlier.
Yeah, it wasn't our best tonight in a lot of different areas. Puck play and defensively and puck management and just speed and energy. We were just a little flat at times, and then they had started playing in our end a little bit more. And just making plays because we weren't as tight together.
This is the kind of stuff you expect to see midway, 2/3 of the way through a 6-city trip. Is this anything unusual?
No, we just got to regroup tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just wasn't our best night. I don't think we just dug in quite enough, just in certain areas, and played how we've been playing and how we need to play. We just got away from it a little bit.
How do you think? I mean, you didn't play on a line with him, but what did you see from Berkly, Catton?
Yeah, you could see his vision, his skill set. Pretty good with the puck. Sees the ice very well, and just makes a lot of little plays, and highly skilled. So it was fun to see him out there.
Well, yeah. No, I'm good.
Okay. So that was Jaden Schwartz again, just reemphasizing some things, including that, liked what we saw from Berkly Catton. So again, I don't see Berkly Catton sticking around in the NHL. I don't think we can blame what we did or didn't see necessarily on Berkly Catton. I think that this was just a Seattle Kraken team that, didn't quite get it done. And that's going to happen. It certainly happened a lot last season. On the one hand, I've talked about for sure that this is a Kraken team that they're holding on, getting all those consecutive overtime games. But at some point, you have to convert those. And that's a little bit what I'm concerned about. We'll look at, natural stat trick. We'll look at or talk about Allison's instant analysis from this game. Some things we like, some things I don't like, some concerns that I have. And then we will close out today's episode talking a little bit about what we need to know about this Washington Capitals team. But if you're not already following us on social media, make sure you follow Locked On Kraken, because we have Jordan Dabney, boots on the ground. She has some plans. I don't want to spoil them, but she has some plans to get some really cool behind the scenes exclusive coverage while in Washington, D.C., and with some familiar names and faces that you probably know and hear, if you will, if you love listening and watching Seattle Kraken games. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Hey, Kevin, I'm going to read this comment before we move on and transition to our next segment. Good afternoon. Let's get a win tonight. The road trip is still a success if we finish strong. I know that's right. Let's get some stick taps for that, Kevin. Without 4 integral pieces, I'll take it if we can get 3 points out of these next 2 games. And yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to look ahead to obviously tonight and then Winnipeg. We've got Winnipeg coming down the pike. So, as much as we've talked about overtime and getting overtime wins or losses, for that matter, the Seattle Kraken have to start getting regulation wins. This is last night, I should say, was their first regulation loss. So the first time that they lost out on points outright. And we definitely don't want that to become a trend, but we also have to start gaining some points. We'll talk about that and more as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by FanDuel. We know the NFL season, NHL season, NBA season is here, and PWHL coming right down, coming right around, I should say, the corner. And FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, whether you want to build your parlays, look at player props, I like to look at the futures bets. You can even follow along live during games. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken also brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. So visit Rougiette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougiette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Hey, thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala, thank you to our everydayers, to our OGers, making us your first listen of the day, midday listen probably because we're live, and your late night listen when we do post games. And hope to hop on at some point this week. Maybe not tonight, but hope to hop on soon for a post game or two. But the Seattle Kraken, they just got outworked. They got outworked by this team. Allison Lucan saying the Kraken held close to Philadelphia in shot attempts, just one fewer shot than Philly, 48 shots to 47, but they were -10 in 5-on-5 play. They had advantage in terms of how they spent time in the offensive zone, a plus 51 and a plus or 51 seconds and a plus 1 minute 15 seconds in offensive zone possession. Now, some positives. The Kraken have scored the first goal in 5 of their 6 games, including all 3 of their wins. So we like when we score first, but we also have to be able to hold a lead, maintain a lead, grow a lead. Matty Beniers led all Kraken skaters in controlled entries and exits. Berkly Catton became the 9th player drafted by the Kraken to play at least one NHL game. Only one team has had more drafted players on their NHL roster since the 2021-22 season, and that's Chicago with 10. Berkly Catton, he earned his assist at the 7:16 mark. We talked about that. We heard from Berkly Catton. And it is the fastest Kraken player to record a point in their NHL debut, previously held by Matty Beniers, who scored who got a point at the 14:13 mark in his debut. Once again, not a quality start from our goaltending, not a quality start from specifically, of course, Joey Daccord. And I know I've been talking about it, not so much with rest, but Joey Daccord, I don't know if you want to say rusty, but he's not looking like the Joey Daccord that can steal us games. And to that, we saw a little bit of time from Philip Grubauer. So Philip Grubauer had a perfect save percentage, 6 goals faced, 6 saved in 20 minutes of work. That's that third period I talked about. Neither team scored. But Joey Daccord, a 7.62 save percentage. I don't know. I mean, I feel like every time we think we know what's happening with goaltending, something else unpredictable happens. And, this is why you take 3 goaltenders. I don't know if the Kraken necessarily thought Joey would be the issue, but I mean, I kind of clocked it a few games ago. I know people were like, oh, he doesn't need rest. He's good. It wasn't about that he was being overtaxed as far as, again, tonight is game 7. But sometimes you can tell when folks have got it and when they don't. And Joey hasn't really had it for a little bit here. So something to keep an eye on. I don't know. I don't know what this Kraken team is going to be like if we don't have a solid go-to goaltender. Again, we saw a solid performance from Philip Grubauer in limited time, right? But you know, we need a go-to goaltender. We haven't seen Murray yet, so who starts tonight? We saw Philip Grubauer get some time. I mean, I'm assuming Joey is not starting. So do we go Grubauer and then Murray backs him up? Joey is a scratch. Is Joey the backup? I guess we'll find out. Again, Joe Dabney is boots on the ground. And so in a little bit of time here, in an hour or so, I guess, roughly, in about an hour, I have to convert the time and where I am in time and space. I'm in Central Time right now. So in about an hour and a half, we will hear from Lane Lambert. We also got some news with regard to Ottavainen had been brought up, but oh geez, I thought I had it pulled up, but we see that the Kraken made some moves there again with regard to who's available for the Seattle Kraken. So again, we can't blame everything that's happening here on the personnel. I think some of this is just we have to be better. We had fewer high danger chances, something again that we've talked about. 6 high danger chances for the Flyers, and they converted into 5 goals. 4 high danger chances for us, 2 goals. 5-on-5 defense, power play. We had more shot attempts on the power play, 13 compared to 2. But the Flyers were much more effective on the power play. So, do you want fewer shots, but you're clinical from an execution standpoint? Do you want more shots and more goals? I mean, anything that ends with more goals, we want. But, we got to play the numbers game sometimes, I think, because we haven't always been shooting particularly well at volume. We haven't had good shot quality. So I rather take more volume, in hopes that quality also goes up, at least for now, then try to kind of pick the corners and then we're not shooting the puck at all. I don't know. But again, it's something that it's something that I know Lane Lambert has talked about, and this team has to settle in to what this is going to look like. When we look at the heat map, if we look at all scenarios, what I do like here, checking out Natural Stat Trick, is that the Seattle Kraken do have a net front presence. It's not maybe, it clearly not as effective. We can see here as the Flyers. Something that RJ from Emerald City Hockey said that I pretty much agree with is that, this is a Seattle Kraken team. I've mentioned it. They're a lunch pail team. They got out lunch pailed. This is all scenarios, but look at this heat map. I mean, 3 goals right in front. And so that's about getting in good position. That's about pushing guys or making it difficult for guys when they're in front of your goaltender. You do see some activity in front of net for the Seattle Kraken, so we like that. But got to see more of it. It got outworked when it came to certain opportunities, and the Seattle Kraken are going to have to fix that. This is a team that knows they're going to be in tight games. They're going to have to be in tight games if they want to win. We didn't see a tight game. Top 3 skaters, I kind of mentioned this, but going back to Allison Lucan, that top line of Beniers centering Catton and Berkly, they were the top 3 skaters per game score, which I took a look at. Ottavainen, again, no longer with the Seattle Kraken, has been recalled to Coachella Valley. And I don't know why I'm blanking, and I'm sorry because I didn't pull it up for whatever reason. But we will have somebody else up here. But what decisions is Lane Lambert going to make? Are we going to get any indication of maybe performances that he thought were a little bit pale, a little bit, that weren't enough with how he sets up the lineup in the roster? Well, again, that's why we have Joe Dabney boots on the ground, and in about an hour and now about 50, still an hour and about 20 minutes, we'll hear from Lane Lambert, and hopefully we get some clue of what's going on. But we're without Jared McCann, who's day-to-day. We're without Brandon Montour, who's away for personal reasons. We're without Riker Evans, Freddie Gaudreau, and Capo Caco. So, the Seattle Kraken have a lot of work to do. Tonight is the penultimate of an Eastern 6-game road series for the Seattle Kraken. They have, of course, the Washington Capitals tonight. They have the Winnipeg Jets coming up in a couple of days. And so we're going to talk about what we know about this Caps team historically against the Kraken, what we know about the Caps this year, and kind of get to what we need to see from the Seattle Kraken as they look to get back in the win column, or at minimum, find some more points. Again, I don't want us to get stuck in a rut where we're settling almost for overtime points. I want us to get over the hump, really push through, and make sure that this is a team that is going to fight, that this is a team that, is going to prove they have a lot to prove, and they need to prove that they can score. But again, that's not always something that we can realistically rely on when it comes to this Seattle Kraken historically. So where is that offense going to come from? Especially early on, when our leading scorer of several seasons now is banged up and is day to day. But we'll get into that, and again, getting to know the Washington Capitals as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most people can't even name all of their financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investment accounts, it's easy to lose track. And that can mean leaving money on the table. And that's why I use Monarch Money. I use it for my business account. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It can help you organize accounts, track spending, and get a better handle on your investments. I love that I can see the automated and, instantaneously created data visualizations, because your girl right here, she doesn't like creating spreadsheets. So Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money is going. I specifically love the cash flow data visualization. And, it makes sure that all of the work that I put in to make that money, that I don't blow it because I don't know how to track my money. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Happy game day, Seattle hockey fans. Again, we are the Locked On Kraken show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's been a busy day for us. It's going to be a busy week for us. It's going to be a busy end of the month for us. What do we have on tap? Well, we're about to talk about tonight's game against Washington. We've got Winnipeg coming up. Earlier today, Ava Wood checked out PWHL Seattle and their new sweaters and kits. Not going to talk about that today, but we will have an episode tomorrow where we'll dive into that a little bit more. And we'll also talk about it on the Women's Hockey Report, which airs every Saturday on the Locked On NHL channel. I will be back in Seattle in the second, I think, full week of November. So in time for a nice homestand for the Seattle Kraken and the inaugural game of PWHL Seattle, I'll let you know more about what we have going on there. But in between our road stretch here and me being out in Seattle, Team USA is hosting a summit ahead of the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics. And listen, I will be there in the flesh at the Olympics, Milano Cortina. I've already kind of alluded to, if you don't know the news, the ice rink, the main ice rink is very behind schedule. So we're going to be talking about that, especially on my main platform. So Black Rosie Media is the company that I own, and we're effectively contracted to run Locked On Kraken. And so we are going to be, Black Rosie Media is going to be at the Team USA Summit. Now, there won't be a lot of active NHL players because, well, they're in season, but we will get to speak to Olympians, probable Olympians. I mean, most of them are pretty much a lock for their respective sports. And we will have some Seattle players, including Hillary Knight from PWHL Seattle, that will be there. Lindsey Vonn is going to be there. I know this is not a skiing podcast, but Lindsey Vonn is kind of an icon. She's of the moment. She's a legend. She came out of retirement, and this might be her last Olympics for real, for real. But we will be in New York City, my hometown, my stomping ground, to cover that. So we will have some kind of bonus stuff that if you want to check out, we will talk about on Locked On Kraken, but you definitely want to be following Black Rosie Media for that. And I'll know more about what Team USA at least is saying about the fact that reports are that the ice sheet isn't going to be ready, and we can kind of get updates on some of the other venues. So again, I know this is a hockey podcast. I get it. And hockey is a Winter Olympic sport, and I will be at the Olympics. So yeah, we're going to talk about topics that relate to ice hockey and the Olympics, because right now ice hockey, I don't know, are they going to have to change the venue? Like, what's plan B if things don't work out? I'm a little nervous. It's almost November. Next week is the end of October. And that's a quick turnaround. They haven't even tested the ice because the ice isn't done. Okay, can you tell I'm freaking out? I'm going to stop freaking out. Let's talk about the Kraken, who have a game tonight. Again, Jordan Dabney, one of our contributors at Black Rosie Media, and contributing specifically to our hockey content, which again pipes through Locked On Kraken. She's going to be at this game. And we're expecting that she will be shadowing effectively a special guest from the Seattle Kraken media side of things. I don't want to spoil it, and things in live television can always change at a moment's notice, but we are expecting to have some really cool behind the scenes action. We're so grateful. The Seattle Kraken have always been really good to us. We have some other things in the works that we're planning that I will tell you once they are super official and confirmed, but we're really starting to get our stride here, and that's what we want to see the Seattle Kraken do, is start to get into stride. We are going to be taking on a Washington team. We know that they were able to make the postseason last year. We, of course, know what Alexander Ovechkin was able to do last year. As of yet, Joey Daccord has not been one of the goaltenders that Ovechkin has scored on. And again, I'm not expecting that we will see Joey Daccord in net, so we keep that alive. But Ovechkin, I think, is in reach. He's within reach of 900 lifetime goals, which is insane. But what do we know about this Caps team? Right now, they are sitting at 4-2-0. So we just got our first regulation loss. The Washington Capitals, they have not lost in overtime. And so they most recently got a loss against Vancouver, but they've been able to take down Minnesota, Tampa Bay, where they got an overtime win, the Rangers, and the Islanders, but lost to Boston. When we look at this team, of course, we know Alexander Ovechkin, but right now it's Dylan Strome, their centerman, who leads in points, 8 points overall. Right now, Chandler Stevenson is our leader in points with 5 points. In goals, it's Alexei Protas, another centerman. Actually, the centerman, well, it's Strome again, but the centermen are crushing it. He's got 4 goals. Yanni Newman has 3 goals for us, 3 assists for Jordan Eberle. Strome has, of his 8 points, 6 come from assists. Joey Daccord, his Save percentage really plummeted, 890 as of right now. Goals against average is 3.09. Right now, Philip Grubauer, he's winless on the season, but he's got a 2.12 goals against average and an 897 save percentage. When we look at this team, power play not great for the Caps. They're 24th overall, 15% clip. Power play for us, the Seattle Kraken, 25%, still top 10. We were in the top 5 as of yesterday, before yesterday's game, and now we're at 7. The penalty kill took a hit again, 28th for the Seattle Kraken at 68.8%, 30th for the Caps at 66.7. Lane Lambert, and I'll play a little bit from his media availability. He didn't feel that the penalties were an issue. I thought they were an issue. I thought it made it really difficult to watch the first period. I was like, what is going on? Yeah. So let's hope that they can pull it out. Is right. They have to hit a new gear. And Kevin, I know that you know this. I know that Kraken fans know this, but back-to-backs were terrible for the team last year. And this team was a little stagnant. They stalled out. They just didn't bring it. It's unusual to see them do that in the first game of the back-to-back, but that's would have been game 4 of a 6-game road trip series. Maybe they're starting to hit a wall, which is understandable, not to mention that they've had some injuries along the way. What are we going to see? Can they dig into their bag here? Well, I certainly hope so. The Seattle Kraken will have a flight to Winnipeg tomorrow, Wednesday, and then they have another game. So they'll be able to get some sleep tonight, whenever this game ends. Tomorrow is a travel day, so I guess it's kind of an off day, but when you travel, that limits your recovery. They're going back to Canada, so they've got to deal with that. And then they are going to have a morning skate. No morning skate today, which is why in about an hour 15, we'll hear from Lane Lambert. No morning skate, which I think is fine. And then they'll have practice on Friday, and then they have a game Saturday. So, they'll have a proper day off Sunday and then practice on Monday. We'll see if they still have that practice on Monday. I know that Lane Lambert, I specifically have asked him about rest, and this is the stretch. It's a tough stretch early on for this Kraken team, but they really got to be able to turn things around and get stuff done. Goals for 2.83 for the Caps, 3 on the nose for the Kraken, so an advantage to Seattle there. The goals against average. Now, the Capitals are defensively, and this was the problem that we ran into in Philadelphia, 2.0 goals against average. That's best for third overall in the league, whereas the Kraken giving up 1 more goal per game, that drops them immediately to 16th. When we look at the standings here, let's just look at the division. So, of course, when we look at the Capitals, they are in the Metropolitan Division right now. The Hurricanes are leading in that department, and the Capitals are 4th overall behind the Canes, the Devils, and the Penguins, and just above the Flyers, who are in 5th overall. When we look at the Pacific Division, the Seattle Kraken are in 3rd right now. They have 8 points. That's the same as Vancouver. Vegas Golden Knights, who we defeated in overtime, mind you, have 12 points and are leading the way there. I like what we're seeing for the most part for the Kraken. They do have a -1 goal differential. We've seen a lot worse. It's still early though. So lots to want to do here when it comes to the Seattle Kraken for sure. They have an opportunity to really right the ship, but they got to dig deep. They really got to dig deep here. And I think they can do it, but we'll see what they can get done. And that'll be our show. Again, remember, Joe Dabney will be boots on the ground, and we will have some really great content. So make sure you're following, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and even Twitter. Joe should be posting on Twitter as well. You can follow at Locked On Kraken. A reminder to be kind to yourself, extend that kindness to others, and we hold fast, we stay true, and loud and proud we say, let's go Kraken. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll catch you on the next episode tomorrow. Peace out, everybody.